All right, y'all. We are live on YouTube, and now we are live on Facebook. Facebook is live. There we go.
Shout out to both of y'all, man. Facebook and YouTube, man. But before we get anything, man, I want to go viral, right? So I want to ask you a viral question. Right now, we are in Ohio, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pressing issues in Ohio. None higher than the train derailment. Are you familiar with the situation?
Yeah, it's the one in Palestine.
Yeah.
Or East Palestine, I think.
Yeah. So, like, just give us, for anybody who doesn't know, can you explain what actually happened?
So I'm aware of it. I don't actually know what happened.
Okay.
Well, I know that a train derailed. It had chemicals on board. It unfortunately caused an explosion. Those chemicals were then released into the public sphere, including the smoke and gaseous elements were released into that same sphere.
Okay. So a little bit more of the backstory was these same trains that exploded. The workers there were recently threatening to strike due to it being unsafe working conditions. Them saying that there were multiple signs that this could possibly happen, and literally like they were trying to get a raise, right? And and also, which kind of weird scenario, which is conspiracy theory brain comes on, was there's an actual movie that came out
not too long ago, and I saw that where it was a group of family, and initially they saw the train crash, and the little boy was like, "You don't see that? Like it's something important." And the father was like, "No, we'll be good. It can't reach us. It can't reach us." And then all of a sudden they had to start like filing away and exiting because people realized that there's nothing when it comes to gas. If there's no container, same with liquid. If there's no container to contain it, it will just continue to spill. Outwardly.
Now, what makes the conspiracy even worse is that one of the actors or two of the actors lives in that same area.
Oh, wow.
And part of the movie takes place in that same exact area.
Wow. No, I didn't know all that.
So you think that's like life imitating art or art imitating life?
I think it's them, like any other things that we have seen in the past. It is just a premonition to come.
So you don't think it's just a coincidence?
No, I think it's purposeful.
Wow. Okay. So, with the whole fallout, right? So in Cincinnati, they turned off their water intake yesterday, which I'm thinking, it's a little too late if they turned off yesterday, in your opinion. Like, you think like that's probably accurate?
It's been a while since the actual crash was like, what, a week and a half ago?
Yes.
Yeah, at this point, if anything has seeped in, then they're going to have to go through a whole filtration. And if their filtration isn't already set up or established to filter out the type of chemicals that are coming in, I mean, they can try to pull out some of the bad minerals or whatever that's going to get into the water.
But Sherrod Brown, and what's the other little Michael J. Fox looking dude's name is? He's the senator. Mike DeWine.
Yeah.
Mike DeWine had some dude there. It looked too funny to me. He had on a white suit with like a black tie, standing there saying, "No, guys, we've already tested the water. The water is fine." But
did
why
anybody drink any of it on camera?
None of them drunk it on camera, right?
Right.
I still would have believed it anyway.
Right.
But now, why would they say that? And then the governor of Cincinnati shut off her intake, and she said, "Yes, I heard what they said, but still shut her intake off."
Right.
Do you think we should be worried
The
about
who of Cincinnati?
The mayor.
The mayor of Cincinnati shut off their water intake, and she said, "No, we only did it as a precaution."
So how are they using water in Cincinnati?
So they have a reserve of water.
Okay, so they're
refusing any additional. Yeah.
So where is West Palestine or East
West Palestine is close to the border of.
Is it East Palestine?
East Palestine.
It's East, I thought.
I think
Where is it
West
at?
Palestine because it's not in the Middle East. It's West, and they call it West. Let me get it.
But I'm at so.
But it's further up.
Pokey's on here. He's saying that he's in Cincinnati. I hope I'm alive. She want to be safe. She'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and you
and
definitely
then
want to
we
in
using a
situation
reserve,
like this, where
but
you don't know what's.
It's East Palestine. Where is East Palestine, Ohio at? I've never heard of East.
I had never heard of it either.
It's close to the border of
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
it's close to Kentucky, right?
Yeah, it's close to Pennsylvania.
It's up north.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's up north.
Like
So
like if you go I-80, like North Youngstown, Pennsylvania border, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's on the border of Pennsylvania. It's 20.
So it's northeast. And it's called
And
East
20
Palestine.
miles south of Youngstown. So
All right. So this is,
northern.
And
All right,
for
okay,
relation,
okay,
then
we get it, we get
Cincinnati,
it.
Cincinnati is further down.
Listen,
They got to pass
listen.
us to get
Okay,
to Cincinnati, and
okay,
then Cincinnati
okay.
is cutting off theirs. Why isn't Dayton?
Well, because it's what's
God
happening.
damn
What's
it.
happening is that
It's just
All right, we
I'm
got the
telling-
location. He only asked what the location was.
Exactly, you guys. The only reason why I'm asking, come on, Neff. The only reason why I'm asking what is the location of East Palestine is to say, why would Cincinnati have to shut off their water in order to?
okay,
Because
this-
as I was
this-
saying,
this
there's
is
no
the reason.
container.
This is the reason.
Ohio River.
Ohio River
Mhm.
is made of 3 rivers:
Mhm.
the Monongahela, the Allegheny, and the Ohio. The river from the 3 River Stadium in Pittsburgh, the water runs down from Pennsylvania and forms the Ohio River and comes down through Cincinnati. So that spill is leaking off into the Ohio River, and the Ohio River is bringing it down our way.
Okay.
But we're not the. I mean, Cincinnati's not the only one.
Yeah,
She's
but-
just the only one that's taking precaution.
And
That
they
should
get
be
their water
Dayton.
from the Ohio River. Apparently, we don't get our water from the Ohio River.
We got an aquifer.
Dayton does not get their water
We got
from
an
the
aquifer.
same.
No, we do have a host.
We got an
What's
aquifer.
What is an aquifer?
Literally, we're sitting on top of water. It's water that's underneath us. They use that water underneath us. And they filter that in order to give
And
us
pump it back.
Water that's also contaminated.
Mm. So where is this water? What
I
is
don't
the
even
water
drink the
source
water.
called?
I don't drink the water straight out the tap. I don't.
I mean-
anybody.
It's called an aquifer, but is there a name for this aquifer? Like, for example,
Who is
there's
the
a river.
actual water
Great-
treatment
great
company? You
salt
mean?
aquifers or something.
Like, what is it?
Do you mean who's the actual water treatment company that?
Well, no, I mean,
Operates the
so
aquifer?
what? It seems to me like we're not getting ours from a river,
No.
right? We're getting it from an aquifer.
Natural pool.
Yeah, it's a sandstone and carbonate aquifer generally provide sufficient production for water wells, except where dominated by shale, as in southwest and southeastern Ohio.
Well, I mean, Pokey said nobody aside hood kids drinking tap water, to be honest. But what about you bathing in the tap
brush your
water?
teeth.
You brush your teeth with the tap water.
Wash your face.
And
wash your
if you have a refrigerator like my refrigerator, you
Unless you
got
have a
water
filtration
that just
system.
comes straight
Yeah.
out of the refrigerator. And I do drink that
Yeah.
refrigerator water. I
That's
mean, I
still
might
tap
be
water.
taking a. Is it not tap water?
It is tap water.
That is
'Cause
tap
they're
water.
linking it straight to your tap,
It-
your
it-
system. So it's the
exactly.
same type of water. So unless you have
So
a
I must be a
filtration-
hood kid.
Unless you have a filtration system
I
already
got
set
a
up
water
inside
bottle
of your
and I
house.
literally fill up a jug from the faucet still and then drink it right through my filtered water bottle. I
And
do
if
that.
you making Kool-Aid,
Your
if you
filter- so
making
it
anything
filters it
like
in some
that,
sense.
Yeah,
it's
I got a filtered
still
water bottle.
Yeah.
Well, shouts out to Mr. Poole because that's the purpose of him creating that water store right there on
For
Siebenthal.
sure.
Because
Yeah.
For sure.
because what's happened in Dayton is Wright Patterson has contaminated our water aquifers because they use
Yes.
these chemicals to put fires out on jets called PFAS.
Yes.
They call it forever chemicals.
Hmm.
So it's already in our water. So again, shouts out to Mr. Poole.
Yeah.
Go get your
There's a
water
lawsuit going on right
there
now.
on Siebenthal.
wow.
Also, if you there's multiple filtration systems that you can install within your own home coming off of that same tap so that it filters before it gets to your faucet.
Mm.
All of your faucets, including the water in your refrigerator.
Man,
Right.
man, I feel like that water make me powerful. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I'm drinking it.
I did
I mean, you're
see
probably gonna come up with some superpowers later because
For sure.
it's radioactive for sure.
Coco, what's up with you? And get your super tonic from Mr. Pools.
Yes.
But
What do you think the lasting effects are going to be on crops, livestock? Because them livestock ain't drinking filtered water, right? Everybody's still eating from the same farms. It's going to be shipped everywhere. The milk,
So-
the eggs.
I mean, it's
The
not any
crops.
different from how it is now. Do you think this is a? Do you think the contamination of our water and our food supply is something new? It's just something you've realized because of this catastrophe, but it's always been there. The fact that when they slaughter and they kill these animals, the stuff that they've been pumping them with this whole time anyway to fatten them up, to oversupply, is already chemicals that your body doesn't need. So then when they kill them and slaughter them, that blood runoff comes into your water anyway. And then a lot of people are drinking that same bloody water. It's just been filtered through their systems. And you have to trust that their system filters out everything, but in most cases it doesn't. So we have never drank truly clean, pure water. Unless you're getting it from a spring, you're not getting clean water.
So,
Spring, you
listen,
ain't getting
well,
to it, that's a
what about in other countries though?
In other countries, they don't treat their animals the way that we treat ours. A lot of stuff
Where
that we
is
do
their
over
water
here
source
is
coming from,
banned
though?
in other countries.
Where
A lot of times,
where is their water source coming
I'm
from?
sure they have their own aquifers. I'm sure they have their own springs. I'm sure they have their own systems. But a lot of those systems
Are better than
are-
America's?
Yes.
You
Man,
The stuff,
wait.
the stuff that, like,
Have
if you've
seen,
ever
like,
been
the
on a
people from other
Canadian
countries, how they
airline,
teeth be looking? I'm not trying to be funny, but you see how like they teeth be looking like.
the quality of your
don't have
teeth,
fluoride in it.
I know.
yes, but that's also something y'all shouldn't just be taking and accepting as like something for you
I
and good for you.
I want to fight back for America and say I think that our water is better than most water systems
I
around
agree.
the world.
I would say in certain areas of certain countries, our water is better than those. But if you had to compare us to a Canada, if you had to compare us to a you know what? it
Canada?
is-
So, but
Yeah,
now-
Canada.
Wow.
Have you never had Canadian water?
I-
Like
I-
on their
I mean, even
on
if-
their no
I-
on
I
their
mean,
flights,
that's a
their
fact.
water is the purest water that I've ever tasted in my life. You can
But
taste.
then- but
That's
now we-
the
but now we got to
difference.
categorize.
You literally can taste the
Now you're
difference.
talking about industrialized countries. We got to categorize like Canada, United States. We talking about the first world.
This
versus
is
the
true.
first
That's
world.
why I said in certain areas of certain countries.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I would say that America definitely has a leg up, but in other countries, the
But
way
then
that they
again,
treat,
I don't know. I really can't.
they don't allow a lot of chemicals that we allow over here, like
come
the
from
red
Swiss
dyes
Alps
that we
and-
put in stuff, the yellow dyes, all of those different type of additives that they add to our food. Those same foods are banned overseas because they realize how detrimental they cause cancer. They cause deformities.
Can we get the
test
life
them.
expectancy? Or
There's a
well,
country
I probably
overseas
like
where their
what
life
Oriental is
expectancy is
Oriental
like
a bad word?
100, 120.
Asian countries, do they have longer life expectancies than Americans?
There's one
do.
island, yeah, they do, and there's specifically one island around there where their life expectancy is like 120, 130.
So we're not in the
They're-
top 10 of water quality when it
No.
comes to countries.
no,
It's kinda
our
shocking.
water is
So-
shoddy. America
so-
likes to think America's the best, but
So the top 10 is Greece, Iceland, Kuwait, Liechtenstein,
Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein, Malta, Monaco, New Zealand, San Marino,
I can see all those.
Singapore, and then Germany. Germany got better water than us,
I can
bro.
see that as well.
Because
Yeah.
Germany got the Swiss Alps, part of the Alps. They got
Yeah.
mountain ranges, Bavaria.
Germany is really clean.
I thought we'd be in the top 10.
No,
I mean, a list is a list, man. You know,
What's
that's
your
what,
list?
America.
it's what you have to believe. It's what you
America number one.
It's what you need to believe to feel comfortable enough to live here, but it is not the truth.
What's your,
Well, listen. At least look. Whenever you think something is better, but you choose to be in a worse situation,
Ooh.
Yeah.
isn't it your choice
Yeah.
to participate in the polluted water?
So when you look at that as well, you also have to look at
There's
the
some
other
terrible
factors of why someone would choose to live in America. No, our water system is not where it needs to be, but we have a lot of other freedoms that a lot of other countries can't offer you.
All right,
We have
so-
the ability to move.
So the closest three countries, right? We got Canada at 99%. You got Mexico at 43%. You got United States at 97%. That's
Of
not
what?
bad.
Percent of what?
And water quality. And then like UK is 99.8%. So I mean, we're not bad for the area we in. Like we only get the water that's around us.
That's what they report, though.
And that's what I'm saying about Canada, the Alps, and all these
That they
other
report- but I
places that
personally
you
experienced
think
some of those waters, and they are better.
But that's your perspective.
I-
It's not a. It's
I haven't tested
subjective.
it. You're right. I haven't actually pulled out my lab machine
There
and
you
tested
go.
it when I drank the
It's
water.
all
But I
subjective.
can tell you right now, I don't drink any tap water anywhere I go in America. I don't. I don't drink it straight out the tap. I refuse. I don't. I don't even ask for ice in any of my drinks because I don't trust it.
Damn.
And there are specifically some places in America where you cannot drink the water.
Yeah.
And those places are well known to a lot of people. I don't
Yeah.
have to call them out.
Ethiopia 12%, Zimbabwe 29%.
Well, what's the place in Michigan, bro? That was real
Flint?
bad.
Oh, yeah.
Flint,
Yeah,
Michigan.
Flint,
Hell
Michigan.
yeah.
Man, Flint
That's
would
just-
knocked us out of it. You feel me?
There was another place recently that was real
It's,
bad with water.
It's down south. It's
Jackson, Mississippi. Oh yeah,
You can't
exactly.
drink the water there. But those are just the ones that you heard about. Like, especially after we have certain disasters in those areas, it's not safe to drink the water.
And what could possibly happen from drinking the water?
I mean, immediately, unless there's like a disease or a bacteria in the water that's going to immediately kill you, if your body is not strong enough to support drinking that water consistently over time, you'll develop certain issues.
And
which
let's say
we've
that the
seen.
worst thing that possibly happened does happen.
Yes.
And that would be,
Death.
is that bad?
Is death bad?
Yes.
It depends on who you ask. I
I'm
truly
asking
believe
you.
it's a transverse
I'm asking
of
you.
just
Is-
your
is-
ability to be
is
in this
death
form.
is death bad?
No, it is a natural part of life.
So even if you drink the worst water in the world,
Yes.
and you immediately die from it,
Yes.
a bad result doesn't happen.
It doesn't, but no one wants to die just from having to drink water. You trying to scapegoat water.
Take this point, bro. Take this point.
No, you're
Take
trying
that
to
point.
scapegoat
Take that point.
water.
Take that
And you
point.
can't scapegoat.
Back there in the corner, dunked on her like shit.
That is not a dunk. So you're
Back there
saying,
down in that
you're
corner.
saying, oh, okay. So
So
I
sad.
guess so because death isn't that bad. If I happen to drink this water and die, I guess it wasn't bad for me. It was bad for that person. Yeah, for them, they didn't want to die just from drinking water. I can tell you that they
Just
didn't want to
depends on
die
the
just from
person.
drinking water.
It depends.
I mean, it might be a
thing-
nice way to assist people who don't want to be here anymore.
The same thing that
But
brings in,
it's
same
not-
thing take you out.
It's I can't.
Born
There's
in
no-
water, die in water.
That's
Kind of poetic.
That's a justification for allowing contaminated water to continue
I think the
being
point
part
is
of our
that
lives.
it's, no matter what, it's all good.
All right, for sure. So, man, you want to get this show started, man?
Yep. What's up, man? Welcome to the
matter what,
Legendary
it's all
People
good.
podcast. I'm Ahava Elyon, author of Ahava Elyon. Oh, we got the CMOS King in the back, baby. This is a good, much. Let me try to block him off, man. He is not
Yeah.
trying to be on camera, bro.
Yeah, look,
Hey.
I'm
he in
gonna
the
buy something when
building.
I come before I leave.
Sheiks for breakfast, Agnes All Natural Grill for lunch. If you're ever injured, call attorney Michael Wright. You ain't cool if you don't go to that school. What school is that?
Horizon Science Dating Academy.
That's right, man. Make sure you guys go and check out Horizon Science Academy Dayton High School. Network and chill is the real deal. My bro Peanut Johnson gets you together with all kind of business facts and lining you up, and just if you're trying to network with other businesses and grow your business is his business. Network and chill. It's every Monday night at various locations.
Tonight though, we are at the West Social Tapping Table, man. We're inviting the whole public to come out. You ain't got to be a part of it. Come just be a part of it. You feel me? We got our vendors there, so come show our vendors some love because they, you know what I'm saying. We really worked hard to get them ready for y'all.
All right, and so that is the official network and chill tonight at West Social Tap and Table.
Yep. 111
then-
West Second Street.
And then we got and then we got T-Shirt Kings, t-shirtkings247.com, and Gold for Your Mouth. We got the sale on T-shirts, 50 shirts for $250. And Stolen, the book of Ahava Elyon. It's available right now in ebook format on iwasstolen.com.
Already got mine.
And the book, the physical copy of the book will actually be here next week. So you guys make sure y'all come through and get the first 100 copies. And then April the 16th at the convention center, I'm going to have our official book signing. And we're still putting the event together with all the specific details, but it's going to be real major.
Super
I think
major.
a lot of people are going to come out, so it's going to be a nice event. So April 16th at the convention center, the book signing for Stolen, the book of Ahava Elyon. And now, without further ado, my brother Peanut Johnson, back over to you, bro.
Bro, you bodied that again.
Thank you.
Not
I
again.
appreciate
again.
that.
So proud of you, man. And man, this book, I'm telling y'all, it's a page turner, man. Like, literally, right? To the point where he sent me the book, I still went and bought it, right? When the hard copy come, I gotta have it also. And Network Chill will be in the building for that event also. I don't have to do Network and Chill buttons up, but we'll figure something out. But we ain't here to talk about me, right? We're here to talk to someone that's very, very legendary to me. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, she continues on her path of what she has in plan and in store, man. Like I said, there's no legend higher. We have in the building, Joe Cooley-Love. How are you doing?
Thank you. I don't even know if I deserve that type of introduction.
wow,
but
nah.
I really appreciate it.
Well, here on the Legendary People podcast, I like to find out the origins of our legends. Without further ado, where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Dayton. I went through Cornell Heights for elementary, McFarland, and
We gonna stop. No. Everybody get in that chair. Want to turn this thing into a fast interview. We starting out right there. Let's talk about your first school. Let's talk about elementary school.
That's Cornell.
Okay, so like, what was your experience like as the elementary school? What was the neighborhood that you grew up in?
So my family did live in a few places, but the main place that I grew up in is right over in Old Dayton View. Mm-hmm. We pretty much lived there and still live there. We still have a house there over in that area. I grew up in that area, played with the neighborhood kids. You know, you can play until the lights come on. Mm-hmm. And so it was that type of situation. It was pretty quiet for the most part. Our area, we did have... when I was growing up, one shooting where a little boy unfortunately was murdered on the street.
Oh my God.
How did that change like your perspective at that point in time in your life?
It was devastating. Like, I saw him, I called the police. Like, it was literally like within my face, within my view, that all of that went down, and it was just shocking to experience. My brother was questioned because he knew the little boy. He knew his friends, you know. I think it changed the whole dynamic too. We didn't go out as much after.
So, like, did mom or dad have a talk to you about life or death? Like, what was your, moral compass like change from that moment?
No, they didn't really set us aside and have a conversation. For my own discovery and my own feelings of it, it was, I mean, I've always kind of had the same type of relationship with death. It is just a physical body that you're encompassing, but your spirit still lives on. I truly believe energy never dies, and we are just energy walking through a vessel. So I still believe that little boy's soul is out there. Maybe he's already been reborn, maybe not, but I really feel more sad for his family, more sad for the individuals who did it too, because you take on that blood and that stains your hands forever.
So can I rock with you real quick? Yeah. So that kind of like life and afterlife philosophy, it seems to be like growing in popularity. Do you remember the first time that you heard about these principles of you being able to come back through in another energy form or another life cycle?
So I honestly got it from a science book, because as soon as it said in science, energy is never destroyed. It is always renewed. It can't be killed. It has never been created. It's always just been. Mm-hmm. Once I read that, it was like, okay, so everything that has always happened will always happen, and it's always here. And we are just now the vessel taking shape. We're not anything different. I am possibly just an ancestor reborn. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was when I was younger, thinking through that. And then as I studied more Eastern philosophies, especially Buddhism. Buddhism is a big one because they truly believe in karmic retribution, and they believe that you come back specifically in the mode of how you've been serving in that current vessel. So if you were a bad person, you might come back and have to start all over just to get to your evolution or your not evolution, but what is the word I'm looking for? It's like an enlightenment that you then have to work even harder to get to your enlightenment. You set yourself back, but you were already here. You know what I'm saying? So you're just going to continue to be here until you can reach a point of enlightenment to where you don't have to come back into a physical form, but your energy is there, and now it's just it's a cleaner form, basically.
I'm gonna raise the question though. Like, to me, it always made. Yes, I believe in that, but I also think that like the royal family believes in their bloodline for a reason. So I think a lot of times you do come back reincarnated by the same bloodline that you were originally birthed.
I don't know if your blood has anything to do with it. Because again, these are
Blood is
just
very important.
blood is important. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's all important on this astral plane. On this plane, it's important. But on the bigger scheme of things, which encompasses even this plane, I don't think it has that much of a bearing.
To me, why we have different blood types if it was not important? It's a reason why I can't just swap blood with anybody.
Right.
Because I believe they really have strict highways of you have to stay in this line.
And there are some religions that truly believe like that, like Jehovah's Witness. They won't take other people's blood, not even if it's the same blood match. They won't take other people's blood into their body because they feel like it desecrates their form.
Exactly.
But if you believe that, then you shouldn't have tattoos.
No, it's not the same thing.
It is, because that ink is now in your blood.
But my body's constantly filtering it and stuff like that. So
Wouldn't that be the same as somebody else's blood or anything else coming into your bloodstream? That your blood being the...
I'm not putting blood in my body. I'm putting ink in my body.
I'm asking you, but
No,
I'm saying that's along the same line. That's along the same line,
I'm not
because
saying I wouldn't
eventually
take someone else's blood
your
if I
blood
needed
would
it.
filter it, would it not?
Yeah, but I'm saying I have no problem with either or. I'm just saying I can see why they would say that. With it being.
But you asked me my personal beliefs. I don't personally believe that, no, your blood has any bearing on your spirit or your soul. I think your spirit and your soul, which I would equate to energy, like I said, has always been here.
Okay.
That bloodline might not have.
So let's talk about some of your early, did mom take you to church, dad take you to church, grandma, anything like that?
My mom took us to church for a long while until she realized that church wasn't for us and stopped forcing us to go.
What kind of church did you go to?
We went to Omega Baptist.
Omega Baptist, okay. And you a vet then, you know what I'm saying? Like Omega Baptist. So like eventually, mom stopped making y'all go. Like what was kind of like that awakening moment for her?
I don't know, probably seeing her kids constantly sleep in the church. He was like, you know what, y'all not about to embarrass me no more. Right. So she and then my mom has always, with everything, kind of been more open to allowing us to kind of find our own way.
Okay. So I normally ask people like what is their most fondest childhood memory?
Ooh, my fondest childhood memory. So I personally have a hard time with memory. I have dissociative identity disorder.
What's that for people?
So disassociation for people, or I mean, it's been returned because it used to be multiple personality disorder, but it's not a multiple personality issue. It's more of a leaving yourself and kind of running in automation automatically. So when you dissociate, like, have you ever driven home and been like, how did I get here? Mm-hmm. That's a dissociation. Most people experience it to smaller degrees. I lived in that mindset where I was constantly not present with who I was and what I was doing. I was actively participating in it.
What's the longest stint of that?
32 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have to say, because I hadn't been present enough to realize that I wasn't keeping memories. I was having these things happen and going through the motions, but I wasn't keeping the memory. I wasn't actively present to keep the memory. So when it comes to like saying like, what's my favorite memory? I can't even tell you because I don't. Like my brothers and sisters would be like, y'all remember when we did? I'm like, no, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't.
So who are some of your day one friends?
My day one friend?
Yeah.
Like from day one?
Yeah.
Oh. That was also hard to do when you disassociate. Like you don't really like, you don't keep things. Like you don't build on top of it to even make it significant because it's like, this is all just happening. Right. It's not actively participating in it. It's just happening. But my longest friend, I would have to say, is a lady named Kimberly Jackson. She has been my friend for a very long time, and we will continue to be friends. What's
one of your favorite stories from her? I mean, hopefully you can remember one of those, right?
Oh, she done took me out wild, and when I was younger, and when she was younger, Kimberly was a wilder person, and she just took me through all the hijinks. So all of that was actually, for me. Again, it was like I know it was happening, but I wasn't aware to be like, oh, this probably should be where I am as a 14 or 13-year-old person. But that's where I was, and For her to give me like those experiences, I think is enough.
Okay, so like middle school. So like, what middle school did you go to?
I went first to McFarland, and then I went to Fairview.
Okay.
So I went McFarland 7th, Fairview 8th.
So one of the backdrops for people's lives is like music. So what kind of music were you into, like during this time?
I have always been into the same music, which is black artists from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I tried to rock with the 2000s and on. Sometimes I listen to it, but they
What about
are
Cash Money taking over the 99
No.
and the 2000?
I mean, it's cool, but it is not a bopper that I would personally pick. It would just be something I hear in the club. My
Do you know
music
what
is
song comes
neo
after
soul.
that? Do
My
you know
neo
do you know what words come after that?
rapping for the 99. That's what's happening. I don't. I don't know the words.
Got it.
I know
I got
the
her
what.
2000 hit. I got her 2000
I
hit.
know what he's trying to say
got her
possibly,
2000
but I don't know the exact words.
Okay.
It just sounds like cash. That's what I know.
All right, cool.
I ain't got no
You
words.
know what? We can back that question up.
Like Erykah Badu, Smokey Robinson, Michael Jackson, Lauryn Hill, Sam Cooke, Grandma's Hands. I'm trying to remember that artist. Bill Withers. Like I am legit. Everyone has always known that I listen to the same music, and it still fills my heart because the words I can hear and actually relate to.
So like, what kind of activity were you into? I mean, I know like you draw, you do other things of that nature.
I actually didn't draw when I was younger.
Okay, like what kind of things were like you into?
I wrote a lot. So I wrote poetry a lot. I was always at the library. I was at the library every week, and I would take home a big stack of books every week, and I would finish that big stack and go to the library and refresh myself. So the library.
So being buried in the book is one of your
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I did play sports until I broke my ankle. And so I played like volleyball. I ran track, cross country. I played basketball. I played softball. I played all the sports I could because I love sports. I love actually participating. I don't like to watch sports. I think that's a waste of time. But I love actively participating in them.
Right. So in hindsight, you know, with you taking a bit into politics, just doing in hindsight, looking back, what were some of the policies that shaped who you are or shaped how people in your neighborhood were?
When you say, can you expand on that? What do you mean the policies that would have shaped me?
Like, okay, so like at that point in time, like of course, like you're too young to understand
Right.
what was going on in
Right.
the neighborhood.
Right.
But being in hindsight, looking back, what were some of the policies that you saw growing up? I mean, such as the, you know, coming right out of the crack era, obviously, right?
Right.
There's a lot of legislation that went into, you know, policing different
Right.
things of that nature. Well, what are some of the things like you noticed, you know, just looking back now?
I wasn't really aware. I mean, I read.
Hindsight now, like
No, I know, but even now, I can't really speak to specific policies to say that shaped me because I wasn't really actively being shaped by anything. Like when I read, that was when I actually felt like I connected back to the world. And that's when I felt like I was here and present. And so a lot of the things that shaped me was the things that I read about, which were more historical things than current happenings, if that makes sense. And so those things shaped me. Like just reading the social studies book that they gave us. And I was like, hold on though. Y'all said y'all got slaves. Y'all didn't get slaves. So shit like that, excuse me, stuff like that, that I was reading and actively being like, oh, okay, so y'all want us to fervently accept the things that y'all are constantly doing to be destructive to people that look like me. That shaped me most of all.
But you also know that like legislation goes into who is the writer and the procurement of those books all come through a whole different process that is the government.
Yes, I do realize.
So like some of those things did shape you in one way.
They did, and now, but they, in those days, I feel like it was at least a little bit more open. We still had those social studies books. The social studies book still told a portion of what they thought was the truth anyway. And so we were still able to form and create those type of moments for ourselves where we were like, hold on, if this is the history, then y'all been messed up. Now they're trying to take that stuff out.
Yeah.
So it's more now that concerns me than what was happening when it was in my age. Like in my age, I feel like we had a little bit more of quote unquote freedom of speech. Now we don't. Now a lot of stuff gets filtered, a lot of stuff gets taken out. I remember, I guess the banning of books would have been one that has shaped me. And so I purposely sought those books. I don't like when people tell me I can't read something. So I purposely sought the books that they said were banned in the schools, and I went to the library and I got them.
Right.
You're not about to tell me what I can't read. Like anytime something came down the mainframe that would be to ban or to not allow me to do something, then I purposely do the opposite because y'all not about to not allow me to do anything. And so I was always very anti-authority. I was always trying to push back. So I guess it would be in that regard.
Perfect. So after middle school, what school did you go to after that?
I went to DECA. We were the first graduating class of DECA.
Salute to the DECA stars.
Yeah, to the ones who made it through, because we started with 100 and we ended with 33.
So like it was growing pains, obviously.
It was not what they made it out to be when I first signed up, but at that point, I saw what they were trying to do. I just think in the first graduating class they missed the mark with us.
What were some of the
Because
challenges you faced?
so we had, I don't know if they still do that, but they had 6 or 8 gateways. There were gateways that they called them. And at each gateway, you had about 20 to 25 things that you had to fulfill to pass that gateway. So whether or not you got on to the next grade, if you didn't pass that gateway, you were still stuck at gateway 1 into your 2nd, 3rd, 4th year.
That's still the curriculum.
Okay. So they were expecting people to essentially graduate high school in 6 years without telling people this is a 6-year program, with the idea that when you come out too, you have a 2 years associate's degree.
Oh.
That's why it would be 6 years. Or that's how they try to say, that's why we're giving you 6 years, because 2 years of that you should be doing your associate's degree. Unfortunately, when I first got into high school, I tested out of high school. So all of my classes from then on was college classes. So all I had to focus on were the gateways. So it made it easier for me to do, but a lot of students who couldn't do that had high school work on top of those gateways to fulfill. And a lot of people just wanted to go to high school. You know what I'm saying? They just wanted to be able to get the stuff that you need to graduate high school. Like I said, I personally see the benefit of it because it was more of a real world application. They made you do job shadows. They made you do internships. They made you like go out into the real world and experience these things beyond what you would see in a regular high school setting.
That don't sound bad.
It's not. But if you're not prefaced that before you go in, and someone then tells you within like the first year, like, we expect you to take 6 years to do this, you're going to feel a certain type of way because you're like, I don't want to be, a 20-year-old high school graduate. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I never thought about that. But I mean, if you own your job, you can graduate early.
Yeah, there was still like of the 33, they still graduated 33 people. Of the 33, I think maybe about 10 had their associate's degree because it's not required that you get it. They just give you time to get it. Right. But I think about 10 of them had their associates, so it's definitely beneficial. But I mean, I've talked to some of the graduates after the fact, and actually that whole system was more detrimental for them because it expelled all this energy before they even got to college. You know, quote unquote, like a university college or a 4-year program.
What were some of your goals for after completion of college? I mean, high school rather.
I have to tell the truth. I've been aimless for a very long time. So after the completion of college, because again, I was just existing, I wasn't living. And so I wasn't really putting 2 and 2 together about what it is that I wanted because it was just like, I was just here. I was just letting life happen to me instead of living life. So I didn't really have many goals. I mean, I already had a full ride scholarship to Ohio State since I was in the 6th grade. I was going to Ohio State. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until I realized, like, getting back my ACT scores that I can go to any school I wanted to. And so then I applied to one other college and I got in, but I didn't have the money to pay for the application fee, I think, at the time. And so I didn't go to Spelman. I went to Ohio State.
Okay. So like what was your major for Ohio State?
again, aimless. So I changed my major like 5 times.
What was
I
your
think
first major?
my first major was computer science engineering.
Mhm.
And then I looked around and it was just a whole bunch of white boys. And I was like, I do not want to go to work every day with a whole bunch of white boys. I had already seen it because I had already done a job shadow back at DECA and gone to a space where engineers would be and seen. And like the work didn't bother me. It was literally going to have to be every day working with y'all. We ain't gonna have, I'm gonna be bored. I don't want to have to do this. And then if the end product is just to get these numbers up to another corporation who's just gonna send it out, and I have a very
This ain't meaningless.
not meaningless, but yes, meaningless. In my grander scheme of what life is,
Mhm.
it seemed very meaningless. So I was like, that's not for me. So then I went from computer science engineering to just a
Wait,
general
I'll
education.
ask something real quick. So
Yeah.
like, when you first changed your major, like you talked to your parents about it?
No. No. Again, and this could be seen as good or bad, but my mom didn't really take an active hand in forcing anything on us. What we did was what we wanted to do.
How do you feel about that style of parents?
I, in retrospect, I think I would have liked a little bit more show and interest. It's not that she didn't come. Like whenever I did things, because I did plenty of things. Whenever I did things, she was there to support, but it was never a you must do these things. I've had friends who said that their parents are like that. And honestly, I'd rather be here because I'm more chill than those people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I probably would be further along if I did have that as well. So it's a catch-22.
What about
Really.
your dad's parents style?
Um, my dad's parenting style is, my father has just recently passed, so it's very hard to speak on my dad's parenting style. But the truth of the matter is, it was more of it was there until it wasn't, and then when it wasn't there, it was more about please don't need money from me. Yeah.
So what are some of the similarities between you and your parents?
I don't think there are a lot. I mean, I definitely get a lot of characteristics. Well, not characteristics, but a lot of, like, my dad loved chess, taught me chess. I love chess, you know. Mathematics. My dad and my mom are both really, really good at math, like really on it. I have a very, I was able to get into trigonometry at a very early age, you know. So those things that their genes just passed on to me. But a lot of the things that I saw them actively doing, I decided to do the opposite of.
Amazing. So once you switched your major, what did you switch it to?
Initially, I just went to general just to see what was out there. Then I went into.
What you spend and land on after that?
It was English because I do actually like to write, and it was going to be English with an emphasis on journalism. And then I was like, well, I went to a few of the classes, and it was like, well, just write, and you'll be critiqued. And I was like, well, all of my critiques always came back, oh, you're a great writer. Okay, so then do I need this class? Because you're not actually teaching me more about writing. You're just having me write.
Right. It's like, right.
Yeah. So it was classes like that. I'm like, I get it. But I don't get how it's like actively effective for me anyway, for me. So then I went from English to music. And then from music, I went to dance. And then from dance, I went to art. And then I went specifically to art and technology. So I actually created my own major at that point. So it was a blend of art and then technology.
Okay, so
Art technology within the scope of using it to create art.
right. So kind of graphic.
No, more robot because I was a sculptural artist. So it was more using technology, robotics to actually create the art that I was making.
So ultimately, how does your step at Ohio State end? You graduate?
I did not.
Okay. What happened?
So, all right, we're getting real. I was raped off campus, and I decided that I could no longer be in that space.
I have no idea. Sorry, dude.
It's okay. It happened. It was what it was. I tried to go back to attending classes, but it literally, it was PTSD. I couldn't do it.
Was it the person that you knew?
No, it was just, I was walking home. It was late at night. It was just some random guy stopped his car, chased me down, put a knife to my neck, let me go. Didn't rob me. So I'm very blessed to still be here today.
All right.
Yeah.
So what were your final days like at Ohio State?
One of the final days I was in class, and then the other part of it was in all of that. As a sculptural artist, you take photos. That's how you keep a catalog of everything you've done. Unfortunately, my computer crashed and my sister dropped my hard drive. So all of my work was gone. So even in my final classes, I couldn't really show anything. Like I was in my final year, but I didn't have a portfolio. So it was like, I can't graduate anyway. I would have to start all the way over.
So what did you do after that?
After that,
Did you seek any help or anything like that for the traumatic experience?
So at the behest of someone else, I did actually go to the school therapist. And after a conversation with me, one conversation, maybe 15 minutes long, she was like, actually, you seem pretty fine. I think you're okay. You don't need therapy. Go ahead, go. And that was it. That was my initial interaction with therapy.
How did you feel in that moment, knowing that like you literally dropped out of school because of what happened to you, of someone assaulting you at school, and then for someone to dismiss it in like that regard, and did this guy ever get prosecuted?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't keep track. I know that they had all the information that they needed from me, and the police didn't actually follow up like they said they were going to. So it was just, and being, that's actually the positive thing about disassociation is because it was like, it didn't happen to me anyway. So I was able to just kind of move on initially. It definitely happened to me. And then at 32, all of it came crashing down and I was like, oh shit. But in that moment, it was just like, oh, okay, just another day, I mean, until I had panic attacks.
So, what was your plan for now? So like you get out of college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you're essentially dropping out.
I did.
Your computer crashed. You don't have any of your portfolio of your hard work like you've done there. You switch majors multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
What is your plan now that you're not in college?
My plan, I did not, again, have a plan because, again, I was just existing. I was just kind of letting life happen. And so I had started working at Apple not too long before that ended. So I continued working at Apple. One day a guy came in. He was a local Black multimillionaire. And he was like, I could use someone like you on my team. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I quit Apple and started working for him.
What was it like?
If I remembered, I would. I know it's like DW is his initials, but I don't remember his name. But he owned a lot of like preschools up north. He owned like several different companies. And he was, he had his money. He did what he needed to. At one point in time, I got into a really bad accident in my car, totaled it and everything. And I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. He wasn't actually paying me what he needed to or what he said he was going to. He wasn't paying me overtime, but he constantly used overtime. And so I was like, you know what, let me just, it was my,
See how he got to be
it's right. It was my motif to then just kind of take off and keep it moving. So my cousin invited me out to Nebraska. So I went to Nebraska for a little bit.
So, talk about the Omaha Diva Society.
Omaha Diva Society?
Yeah.
What is that?
Do I gotta run this?
You got me.
Listen,
Yeah.
I have pictures of you in the Omaha Diva Society.
Oh, that wasn't the first time I went to Omaha.
I was asking about it.
But Omaha Diva Society, what is it called that?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You on the website now?
What is the website?
Pictures of you dancing. I'm just saying, like.
Because they probably were just the photographers for another like actual event that I went to. not that I was part of any Omaha Diva Society. I don't even know who they are.
Where do we got a scandal?
I don't think so.
Not
I
just
don't
playing.
see how it is. But that wasn't even the first time I went to Omaha. Well, that wasn't
And-
when I went to Omaha the first time.
You can't be asking nobody about those societies when they're running for office. Society is Illuminati.
No, it's not Illuminati.
You trying to ask her about
Society is not Illuminati.
what is it? What's it called again?
It's not.
Omaha Diva Society.
I'm not part of the Omaha Diva Society.
Oh,
So how did you even find a photo of me? What did you Google?
you little researcher, you.
Yeah, you gonna have to.
I-
But I think
Send the
they,
link.
if
We'll
I
put it up on
remember correctly, they were honestly just the photographers for an event that I went to, which was called Revel. I
Yeah.
believe that's what you're referring to.
So
And
take
at
a
Revel,
point.
that's my friend's event that she would throw every so often.
And this is the time of the show where we take a point from Peanut for.
I will post it on my Instagram later.
Well, yeah, but
My
the
bad.
thing about it,
I'm
you found something that associated themselves with her, but she never associated herself with them.
No.
You see,
I don't.
just like you.
But she
Just-
also said earlier in the interview, like she had dissociation disorder. as well.
Dissociative identity disorder.
Your point is taken, bro.
All right,
Yes.
take the point.
What is So what is it again? What's the condition?
Dissociative identity disorder. It
What's
was
that mean?
renamed after multiple personality disorder, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to have multiple personalities to disassociate.
So it's kind of like you deal with somebody and then completely forget all about them.
Exactly.
I got that.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so
Now I
people-
know what's wrong with me.
And so most people disassociate. Most people disassociate.
Yeah.
It's not weird to disassociate, but it's not weird to have dissociative identity disorder. I'm just saying, like, it's
Man,
not
I'm
uncommon.
telling
That's what I
you,
meant
bro.
to say. It's
Like,
not
no,
uncommon to
seriously, man. All the
disassociate.
women I've ever.
But it is like if you're constantly
Not
doing
many
it,
of
that's
them.
when you have dissociative identity disorder.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
Without being like women that I've been with, I don't remember them.
I mean, that could be a form of dissociative identity disorder. You would have to go into deeper, but if it's just with your women relationship, that might be more to speak on. Are you paying attention in your relationships?
No,
'Cause,
they
like,
say
what about?
it's not.
I mean, do you remember other points of your life?
I remember, like, no, you got to make a serious impression.
For you to remember it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, but I call it face blindness.
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
I call it because, like, somebody will come in here and they will literally
No.
spend a big baked cake of money
And you don't
with me.
even remember.
And
it.
they'll come in 2 days later and I'll be like, can I help you?
Like,
Completely forgot about it all. And like, it's certain people where I know I'm supposed to know them.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you just said like it was some millionaire who came and took you away from the job you was working
I
at
don't remember his name.
and you cannot remember his name.
No.
But this is somebody that you worked for
A good time. Yeah.
man. And I'm just like that
Yeah.
too. Like
And
just
it
not
could
being
be-
able, is it just that we have bad memory?
So disassociation is more than just bad memory.
Mm-hmm.
It's an active thing where you can notice yourself disassociating from the situation. Like you can be there talking to someone, but your mind is somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's what
I do that.
disassociation is. It's like you are there physically,
But
you're
mentally,
not there
yeah.
mentally. That's
Well, when somebody is
disassociation.
telling me about something that's happening, I can start visualizing what they're talking about
Yeah.
and then miss about 4 or 5 of the sentences that they say, and then I'll snap
But
back
see, you're
in.
still actively trying to pay attention. You just
Mm-hmm.
are now, and you're now
done.
focusing. Well,
I'm done.
yeah, so they just did Revel. They are not her actual. Yeah.
I don't know why they keep bringing this up. I was already done with it. Okay, take a look at. So anyway, so Omaha, right? So like also, I mean, like did a lot more traveling than just that, right?
Yeah, so after Omaha, I actually came back here, and that's when I went back to school, and I studied American Sign Language interpreting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually developed meningitis, which is a brain infection. So I was hospitalized for about
How do you catch meningitis?
I don't even know the span of how long I was in that hospital, but I was in the hospital for a very long time while they monitored my whole left side because of one of the bad reactions. I don't know what happened, but my left side had stopped working for a while. And so I was having to go through physical therapy to regain control over the left side of my body. As far as how I caught it, I don't know. It came out of nowhere. It went away from nowhere. I was on my way to get a biopsy, actually a brain biopsy, when they did the final MRI, and they found that the mass that was there that they were going to biopsy was gone. And so I didn't end up needing a biopsy. And I didn't find out I had meningitis until recently when I went in for surgery to remove a cyst around my ovary, where I found out I also had cancer. Don't have.
Oh, Lord.
But in that same moment, because I was telling the
Anesthesiologist.
thank you, the anesthesiologist, that I was told that I could never go under anesthesia because I might not wake up. That's what they told me in the hospital before, because they couldn't figure out what it was. Like, they tested my blood from everything from West Nile virus down. You know what I'm saying? All of it. They couldn't figure out, or at least that's what they told me in the moment. And so I didn't find out until 32 that I had it when they went in to take my ovary.
What?
So yeah, after that meningitis and I beat it, I moved to Texas because I was like, well, if I'm gonna die tomorrow, I'm gonna be somewhere hot at least. So I left Dayton again. Yeah, and I moved to Texas, and I stayed in Texas for about a year or two until I got. And my mom is bad at relaying information, but she was like,
Before we leave Texas, I got to hit this
Yeah.
milestone, right? Because
Yeah.
I asked you earlier, right, what kind of music did like you listen to when you growing up? You said Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
You finally met Erykah Badu.
Yeah, I met Erykah Badu.
Let's talk about it.
I saw Erykah Badu DJ for free in Texas. And then I went to her concert, and there I got a picture with Dave Chappelle. And then afterwards, stalking Erykah Badu, I got a picture/video with her.
Stalking her.
Oh yeah, I track Erykah Badu down if I could, but I'm not going to.
We'll edit that part out.
You don't have to. I have nothing to fear. I am a huge fan of Erykah Badu.
As I am as well. Right?
Yes, and so it was really, really dope to be able to capture that moment with them.
So let's put the bow on Texas. What happened? Where you said that like was some controversy happening?
So my mom called and was like, your grandma, she's not gonna make it within, she's doing bad. I was already up on my lease at that point, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to stay in Texas or not. And I was like, I'm gonna go be with my grandma. I hadn't really seen her in a very long time. Her living in Omaha. We used to visit a lot when we were children, but that kind of slowed down. So I went there. She wasn't on her deathbed, like my mother said. But we got to spend. She was back home. She was doing technically fine. So I got to spend another year with her before she actually did pass away. And so that was nice. I got to get to know my grandma more, learn about, how it was when she was growing up and everything like that.
Yeah, what was some of the things like like treasuring when like you're around time, you probably soak up all the game. Like, what was some of the things that like you hold dear today from your grandma?
Just our conversations that we were able to have. Like, she told me about going out at the club and there being big bands, and her and her crew would go and get all nice and dressed up and fancy. How they used to have a house here in Ohio. And I've been there now. It's out by Chillicothe. And there used to be a house, and they had a farm, and they had horses and, all of that. Like, just knowing how she grew up as well. Like what her life was like. It was good to get to know her.
Yeah, so with you being gone that long and then you finally came back to Dayton, what did Dayton look like?
I went to California first.
Yeah, okay.
And then I came back to Dayton.
Well, you didn't fast forward past Cali. Like, what's some Cali takeaways?
And Cali, my life is, man. So I went out there with a friend, and he ended up kicking me out of that. It was not, we were not in a relationship. This was, he kicked me out. And luckily, I met another person there who was willing to take me in, but I was technically homeless in California.
Walk me through the day that like you had, like, What was the situation that caused y'all to have friction?
Actually, the friend that I had invited over, he did not like her, and so it was on me. He asked me not to bring her back. I let her come back once after that, just to kind of give her a space to stay before she had to travel back home because of traffic. He discovered her and was like, "Nah, you gotta go."
Oh, you trying to hide her in the house?
I was trying to hide her in my room. Yeah, I told you I have nothing to fear. I'm gonna tell you the truth. That's what it is.
So,
I take full responsibility for him kicking me out. I was like, fair enough, bro.
so at this time, you're essentially stuck, homeless in California. What's your next thing? What do you do next?
So I was also on a break from work. I still worked for them, but I had taken a mental break because I needed it. So I had to wait to get back to work to refill my money so that I could make it back to Dayton. And then honestly, I was not going to stay in Dayton. I was headed out the country. And then COVID happened and the border shut down. And I was like, oh, well, okay. I guess I'm sitting here.
What was your experience of what dating looked like after leaving, after having all that, knowing like you don't want to be here? Do you come here and you see it? And this,
I mean,
what's your scope of how dating looked when you came back?
Dayton had always kind of been deteriorating over the period as I lived here. But when I got back, it just was it was just more blatant, I guess. After seeing the other cities and other stations, like every city has its own dilapidation. No city is perfect. But Dayton, it just seemed like it spread. It has spread to all reaches of Dayton to where now there's not.
Tribal used to be like chocolate millionaires to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. And now it's just, yeah. And it just seems like it has hit all over there's not money here. Or there's money here, but it's not being used for the resources here, like the streets, the resources that we have. They closed down so many recreational centers. The biggest thing that hit me was the closure of Good Samaritan Hospital. It just didn't make sense. So I actually joined the board of the Clergy Community Coalition at that time. I am not a clergy person, as I said, I don't actively participate in religious.
You don't associate with them?
Yeah, I don't actively participate in
I
religious.
can get my buckets when I can. Okay, I'm a scorer.
All right.
Shoot.
But when I saw that, I was like, well, they're the only ones active, trying to change this. So I just was like, how can I help?
So let's talk about the ARPA funds and how, you know what I'm saying, that was a big misstep by the government and what should have been done.
By our local government, yes. So ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act. And these aren't the only funds that have been misappropriated in the city of Dayton, because after I found out about the ARPA, I found out that this is how they handle any grant that comes into the city. But the American Rescue Plan Act federally was provided to states, cities, it was provided to states, and then the states got to dish it out. So state of Ohio is actually who gave the city their money.
Why would they take us for granted like that?
Well, I mean, I can't with you. So in their verbiage federally, the money is to help address systemic issues that have been in play in our country since the indoctrination of our country. Basically, for minorities and low-income low-income families, this money was supposed to help address that, as well as, because now it's further exacerbated by COVID, rectify these situations for sustainability going forward, that we now have an equitable solution for all of these individuals. That's not what the city of Dayton is doing. 46.9 million of the 138 is going straight to policing. 18 million is going to demolition of houses.
You see a lot of that.
When they did their survey, the survey that they did was very skewed. They didn't actually, a statistician would be like, you can't say that this is factual data, because you didn't truly assess that the people that you were taking surveys from lived in the neighborhoods that you were gathering the surveys. You didn't gather geographical information outside of the neighborhood that they were in. You then didn't use, you skewed the questions to make sure it served your purpose.
Right.
And so in that they said people call ask for demolition, which they didn't. I went through those same like little questionnaires. They didn't call for demolition. They said that you guys keep saying demolition, but if you use a keyword search and just say how many people talked about demolition, you're going to say, oh, they must want it, instead of reading each individual criteria or each individual critique concerning demolition.
Some of these houses do need to be torn down.
They do, but a lot of them houses can actually be restored, and it is cheaper to restore a house than it is to demolish it.
In some cases.
In most cases, actually. Because one, you have to knock it down, you have to clear away the rubble, then you have to, if you are going to build anything further on it, then you have to actually create a whole new foundation. A lot of these historical houses, especially, already have a good standing foundation. So if you just gut the house and rebuild from the inside.
What about the one that got all the copper already taken out? They already done took everything out. They raped every resource out of this house. And the whole roof is already, like, I drive past some of these houses and you can see the roof with a big hole in it. Like right down the street at Decca, when you make that right hand turn off of Decca, it's some double over there where one part of the house is still used. The other part of the house, anybody could get inside that house.
Well, she's not saying in every case.
I mean, of course not. I'm just saying, yeah.
So you can find an example of what you're talking about.
And even
but she's
that,
saying for the most part.
If there is a side of that house still being used and the foundation is still substantial, still can support, and you can just fix the other side.
I feel like those cold people who came out here and mess with you over that food truck should drive down that street. Because it's some cold enforcement that needs to be done over there. Ain't no way half of the house is wide open to all the elements.
It shouldn't be like that.
That's what I'm saying. But
I agree. So we're in agreement, but I don't think demolition is always the answer, especially 18 million worth of demolition when you haven't even put money back into the housing programs to allow people to buy houses.
But can the government actually go and start fixing up houses instead of demolishing them? Because isn't that something for the private sector to take on?
What would then grant them the access to demolish it? It's the same access that will allow them to
just
renovate
probably like
those
general
houses.
maintenance and upkeep of the city. I mean,
that would be general maintenance. Renovation would be general maintenance, would it not? So
I guess it could be, but I don't think that
they can demolish, they can renovate.
But demolish and rebuilding is different than just demolishing.
Right, and that
so they can
demolish.
Well, they could.
Demolishing and rebuilding costs more than just renovating what is already there.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is,
and I'm not saying we shouldn't demolish some, but I don't think 18 million worth should be what we focus on for demolishing.
Right, but I think this is where I'm kind of like separating myself from what you're saying. Demolishing and rebuilding does cost more than just rebuilding.
Right.
But they're not rebuilding. They're just demolishing
right.
and then selling that land for someone else in the private sector to come in and build.
Right.
So that's where
so demolishing, because you have demolishing, you have clearing away, and then you still have to make sure that the ground is level before you sell to anyone else. That does cost more than rebuilding.
Okay.
So even in just demolishing, if they chose not to rebuild, that still costs more than just renovating that home to allow the mass amount of homeless people that we have here to then have access to affordable housing. Here in Dayton, we have, I think it was around 84,000 houses. In Kettering, they have like 115. We have more vacancy here than they do in Kettering. We have more people renting here. About 51% of people here are renters. 33% of theirs are renters. The reason is because Kettering offers people to go in for those dilapidated houses, and if they see one that they want, they can pay the back taxes, and then they can take over that house for the city, and they can rebuild it. We don't offer programs, and the programs that we did offer have now been taken away.
That's true. I miss lot linkers.
Yes, they don't support those type of programs anymore. So this could deal with both.
What's the downside to supporting? I mean, to having that program though. Like, well, if it's just all good, why would they take it away?
Corruption.
Who benefits from the corruption of somebody not? I'm not disputing.
We're doing
what you're
pushback.
saying.
Yeah,
I know I'm not even
I
pushing
get it,
back. I'm just asking, like,
No,
what's the point?
The people who have access to the money, it benefits them because they can move the money however they want to, especially if they're not moving it back into the hands of the people.
Well, I remember like the lot linkers program to where, like, for instance, if you did the upkeep on the home and you put down the money on it, then after a certain amount of time, you better get it free and clear without having to pay the back taxes. What happened is they're too hungry for those back taxes. That's what it turned into.
Okay.
And that locks, you know what I'm saying? And then like being locked into a house that long, it's just going to not get it fixed properly because you don't own the house. So you're not going to start doing roofing, plumbing. You can't even legally go inside the house yet. So the house just sits there longer rather than, you know what I mean? So I can see why they would, like, not on the corruption side, just them saying, hey, these houses already have been here for 6 years without upkeep. You know what I'm saying? I can't risk another year of no one paying the back taxes and just sitting here anyway.
Let me ask you
I
another
understand that, but there's-
just another policy issue with that though. So if you know that it costs more to demolish a house and then make it level so somebody can rebuild there, the people in charge also would know these same
Facts.
right. So why do they do the opposite?
Because right now Dayton is very popular. A lot of outsiders are coming into Dayton because we have lower cost for living, lower cost for those houses, lower cost for that land. They can come in and flip a buck real quick.
Halfshire Berkshire was,
But it's not going to benefit the people who have lived here and who can, who have been here, who stay here because this is their home. So a lot of it is just because there's that outside money that can come in. And honestly, I was in one of those housing meetings that they had with the city commissioners and mayor, and they were saying, oh, well, we don't want to say gentrification, but basically what we want to do is make it so that the people who can afford to live here can come here and live here. And so that, for me, it's all gentrification. You're doing this so that you can clean up the area and get rid of the undesirables and bring in those who have money to support what you already had planned.
And what is an undesirable?
I don't see anyone as
Poor
undesirable.
people.
But if I was to take it on their word, it would be poor people. Yeah, it would be the people who can't actively afford those things, who would need a subsidy for
And when
those
we say
things.
they can't afford these things, why can't they?
There's many factors at play. It's a whole system.
Out of 100%, how much of it would be because of their own effort and will as to why they can't afford it?
I would say probably about 40.
40?
Mm-hmm.
So 60% are being held back from
Your
another will
education
outside
held you
their own?
back when you were going through schooling. They don't teach financial education. They don't teach you how to have a house. They even taken out home economics, so you don't even know how to clean up your house anymore.
Do you think is that true?
I do.
So you think somebody has to teach you how to clean up?
I do.
A
If you don't
school?
see it
A
at
school?
home, okay. So if your parents didn't know how to do it,
How don't
They
they?
send you
How
to
don't
school.
the parents know how to
because
clean
it's
up?
been a system for 400 years, sir. Like this isn't a new system. This
But
is a system
what
that has
since
constantly
black people, all they
affected.
did was clean up during slavery. You had to clean up by will,
Do you
by
know that
force. What's stop now? You forgot how to do it because you don't got a master teaching you that.
No, I'm saying because after slavery, they were disenfranchised.
But
so
how
then
did
on
that
top
stop
of that,
them
even
from cleaning up though?
you stuck on the cleaning part. But again, that's just
That's
one,
what I'm saying. You
that's
said
one
that they
component.
taken out of school.
They have taken it out of school, but that's just one component. You asked me how
But
do
it's
these
educated people who throw stuff out the window right down the street from my house. Every day I go to I go pick my trash up. It's trash all out front of there. I got to go pick up and put inside the trash for somebody else.
And people just throw their trash like literally in my lot, and I have to somebody dumped like they had a truck full of trash backed up, and some of the trash spilled out of their truck, and instead of being decent, just getting out picking up their own trash, they left it for me to go outside and pick up all of their bum stuff, and that's foolishness. And my point is only saying this, like, people have to become more accountable for their
do.
own situations and stop acting as though, like, man, there is no excuse for you not to know how to clean up. I don't care if you don't learn it in school. you should know these things. These are basic God-given intellect that's given to each man and woman to know how to clean up after themselves. It don't
not,
take
though.
that.
It's not God given. A 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, as they grow up and get older, if they haven't seen it done, if they live in a house of squalor, then where are they getting their education from? You a child. You're not going to be like out the brain, out the womb, like, oh my God, I got to clean up my environment.
But we're not
You're
talking
gonna do
about a
that.
child,
You
though,
are,
Joe.
because that's part of your education.
But
So
Joe,
from
we're
your
talking about a
education, when you
grown
first-
person.
Right, but if that grown person, their whole life has never been educated, has never been made to be held accountable, has never been shown what it means to do these things and the repercussions of it, and if in their environment they're constantly
2023.
seeing other people do the same thing and not be held accountable for it, we don't even have.
You're
anything on-
creating a scenario
I'm saying
that's
we don't
less
even
likely
have
to
on our-
happen, though. Like
I'm
that's
not.
like that never
I'm
sees
not.
a clean place. There's a
But I'm
person
saying
who's
that's
never
part of
seen
the
a clean
education,
place.
because even on the west side of even here, we don't have signs like they do in Kettering that if you litter, you will be fined.
But
There's
whose
no-
I
fault
think
is
that's more
that,
on this
though?
side than that side. I see that more on this side than
I
out
don't
there.
see any littering signs.
I see them all.
And
No dumping
and-
all over here. It make
and-
you-
Nothing, but there's no consequence if you do.
And there's a whole white side of Dayton as well.
There
The
is.
whole east side.
Yes,
It's like
and they've all been through the Dayton public school system.
right, but I'm saying
they've
that
all
they
been-
place is like littered too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So
That's why I said poor people.
Right.
yes, the
Right.
education that poor people are given,
Mm-hmm.
the access to resources that poor people are given. If you go even on that other side, let's say we take that away. The trash cans, recycling bins that you go to Kettering, you can see them every other street. Trash cans, recycling. Trash cans, recycling. You can see places
That is a
actually
good
dump
point.
your trash. We don't have that over here. You got to go 5 blocks to get a trash can, maybe even further.
That is a good
But
point.
who is electing
So
these
that would
people
be the
to-
commissioners and mayor to put those trash cans in. That
So
would be
is that
part
the
city
fault of the
planning.
voters who's putting the people into office, or who?
I do. I yes.
But we-
You are a voter. You, me, we all are accountable to how we are being governed. But also, if you haven't had the knowledge, if you haven't had the self-knowledge ingrained in you to know that you are being governed, it's like disassociation. For me, it took a while to wake up. You know what I'm saying? It took a while to actually see things for what it was, that this is the life you're living, that this is a reflection of your actions, that this is happening because it is something that has been allowed underneath you allowing it.
In the book, The 5 a.m. Club, they say self-education is the only education.
It is.
So you can't really you can't stand by and just say my teacher didn't teach me. You have to be seeking that type of knowledge. Like you said before, there are people out there who watch Love and Hip Hop in a house of filth, and in the back they don't see cups stacked up to the wall. They don't see trash sitting all around these people. It may be trashy people on the screen, but they see a clean house relatively. When they watch commercials, it's clean houses. It's never dirty houses.
But if you don't know how to clean properly,
What's this?
I'm literally, I have been in places with individuals who
Why
don't
can't
know
we just
how to
get
clean
tough
properly.
with ourselves, though.
We do need to get tough on it. Listen, I'm not saying this to say that your government needs to do this for you. I'm saying this that you need to be aware of what is happening. Both in, yes, it's 40% now, but it could be more that you take accountability for yourself. But a lot of it is government based. A lot of people live off of government.
We bring
Subsidies.
teachers in here, and I've had conversations with teachers
Yeah.
about how children
Yes.
today are completely disobedient,
Yes.
disrespectful, and almost uncoachable in any facet
Yes.
whatsoever.
And it's getting worse.
And so maybe the teachers are teaching the students how to do
I'm
these
not
things.
putting this just
But
on
if
teachers.
if it's falling on deaf ears,
Yes.
like when we was in school, our government teacher, they taught us how to do our taxes.
Yes.
Whoa.
They taught us how to do all of these life skills that would be
Yeah.
important to us now. But when we were kids, we didn't pay attention to it enough. And so whose fault is it that you don't know how to do some of these
Well,
things?
let me put a pin in on the government teacher.
Yeah.
He was teaching us at an AP level, though. Mr. Granson was going to, he was,
Yeah.
that wasn't the regular government class we was getting from Granson.
I told you I had to
Th-
Okay.
Right,
Go ahead.
but all I'm
We'll
saying,
wrap it up.
but the point
We'll wrap it
is, these resources and these gyms are in schools somewhere.
Yeah, like
And
for instance, I
despite
took probability
us having
statistics
a
in
Mr.
school.
Granson, guess what? I still didn't know how to do my taxes. So the point is, my fault. Dirty neighborhood, my fault. The city can say, you know what, man, let's fix up these houses to bring in some homeless people to live
Right.
here.
But see, in the program
How-
that I'm talking
how-
about, they also educate the homeless people once they get in there on how to sustain that living. Because if you come from being homeless to now having a house, how would someone expect you to maintain that?
I think that the homeless people are normally homeless by choice.
I don't think that's true.
Whoa.
Some of them are homeless by circumstance.
Some are. I mean, you do get some people, I would think, out of 10 homeless because they lost their job and just couldn't find another one and couldn't manage. I mean, to be truly homeless, you've had to burn some bridges and squander some relationships where nobody wants
I've
to
always
help
said
you
that.
and deal with you.
Or they just don't agree with.
Or her in
maybe your
Cali, for example.
lifestyle.
It wasn't she burned no bridges with nobody. She
I
was
did burn a
just
bridge.
oh, my bad. Well,
Yeah, it was.
There you
I
go.
literally
I have a-
used to burn bridge.
yeah.
But in those
She
cases,
lived in somebody's house and then tried to sneak somebody else to live in this person's house.
No, not to live in that. They
Not to live, but
literally
just
was
be there.
for a
Just to be
second.
there.
Yeah,
Just to be there.
Yeah, well,
but kind of
yeah.
like going against
what
the
they
rules.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I took and accepted my consequences. And I'm not saying that we should excuse people or give passes for these things. I'm just saying we have to recognize what it is currently so that we can start to reform it. And the point of all this is to get to a solution base, whether or not that individual knows how to do it or is willing to learn how to do it. At this point in time, a lot of people are so disassociated from their reality because it is too much to handle that they don't even feel like it's worth trying to do. And so again, that goes back to
The brainwashing and programming to say that things are holding you back. Some unseen force that's looming over your head is there to take you down no matter how hard you try.
yes.
That there will always be some
And
glass
that's an
ceiling
education that you've been given. I didn't say it had to be a school education. It's the education. It's the education of what you've been taught.
Exactly. Self-education is the only education. So
Why-
are you subscribing to that? You're gonna be educated by that.
Yeah, because I mean, and so like I love how you have a stance, okay, and I love how you like represent it well,
Thank you.
okay. But to me, I think that sometimes, man, like the more you help somebody, in a lot of ways, you're hurting them and making them dependent. And man, we have to strip away some of this dependence because all of the dependency comes with some condition.
I think it depends on how you help them, though. If your basic human rights are met, then you can thrive. And I believe you could thrive in other ways. If you don't have to constantly worry, where's my next meal? Am I going to have a roof over my head? Can I just drink clean water? If you're not having to worry about those three main things that you need to do just to survive, then I feel like we could start to thrive as a people and we can start to do those other things that we need and start to educate and have those other issues met and resolved. But we can't even agree on having those three things met just for human life to survive, to sustain. We just need those three things met. I'm not asking for you to hand them the keys to the city. You know what I'm saying? I'm asking to just cover them on those three things so that person doesn't have to be every day worrying about how do I just live?
Cover them on what three things one more time?
Water, food, and shelter. Under Maslow's hierarchy, including love, are three things that you need
That's
to
a bar.
live. Just to live. Just to like actually physically
And who should be
exist.
giving people these things?
If you follow our government's constitution, they should. Those things are inalienable rights. So
I don't know
What
why-
are the
government-
a place to live?
affordable housing. I'm not saying you give them housing for free, but having affordable housing, having access to that affordable housing. Redlining truly took away some people's ability to maintain a house and to have a house because of loan sharks and things like that. People refusing to sell to them. I'm not saying you pay for them, but we know historically there have been a group and groups of people who have been told you can't live here because of the color of your skin. You can't live here because we're not willing to work with where you are now to make sure that you can afford the place here. Not saying you don't pay at all, but you can make some adjustments so that a person could live. Though there are no options anywhere for that. Not unless that person becomes fully homeless and then they can get some assistance. You know what I'm saying? What about those who are on their way out or who have been doing it this whole time, but now they need some additional assistance because they can't continue the way it has? That person has been doing it. They've been succeeding, but now something has changed in the circumstances and they can't do it right now. Is that person then just supposed to be let to go homeless?
Yeah, so here on the Legendary People podcast, we had a thing called the Butterfly Effect. There's something you said in the course of the interview, or something I found in the course of my research that I found to be truly profound and amazing. Man, we love Joe, man.
Man, Joe, you lit.
I appreciate it.
And like
You're strong, man.
I always like to go back when I first met somebody, right? So me and Joe met again at like a network and chill event, but I didn't know where I knew her from. And it's kind of like, I'm asking her, she's like, I don't know where I know you from either, but we kind of had this thing like, I know you from somewhere. Then we started talking about what schools you go to, right? So at this time, I'm at St. Clair for automotive, right? So she was the only girl in the automotive thing, and it was dope, you know what I'm saying? And you was there signing for some guy that was there. And it was like, like that connection there with like my grandmother, her firstborn was deaf. So like sign language, I don't know, something about, I always have some type of connection with people who can sign. So that turned into like me seeing you with my bro, C-Lock, and I know how passionate and strong C-Lock is. Like he's a person that got the same spirit as you, going out to all the meetings, and he up there heated, he talking to them, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to fix this. And he gave that same sentiment when he talked about you. And when I seen you all nice, hey guys. I'm like, she wasn't up there going off. Like, but nah, like you really being that fired up for the people. I find that to be truly profound and amazing, knowing that like you came back here just based off of, a whim, and then you come back, and then now you kind of here, and then like we kind of gravitates, and like Dana's like that. If you were something, we gonna keep you here somehow, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you may run to Atlanta, but we still pull you back, right? But it's like to see you be so passionate and want the best for people. You starting your own grassroots organization. I mean, to me, like that is a person that really wants to change things rather than I respect that more than somebody sit back and say, oh man, I don't like that. I don't like that. The fact is you are taking the actual necessary changes and you are becoming the change that you want to see. Yeah. To me, like that is legendary. I don't care if you right nor wrong or in center. I'm riding with you because you that passionate about it and you actually see something that you want to change.
I appreciate that.
For sure.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond to that, but yeah, no, I
Was that a giggle?
I got a question.
Yes.
Who in city government right now is a problem? And another two questions. Is Jeff Mims part of the solution or the problem?
Okay. So why they're asking me about city government is, I don't think it was said, I am currently trying to get my name on the ballot for city commissioner in this upcoming primary election, which will be held May the 2nd. Get out and vote. 2, the city manager is our CEO of Dayton. She runs things. The mayor and the commissioners are underneath her. Let's clear that up. They are underneath her currently with the way the charter is written. They can tell her their policies and what they would like to do. She then decides how that money is going to be dispersed and who is actually going to be the people in charge of getting certain things done and whether or not those policies and procedures come into play at all. She decides, her and her team. So that would be the first person I would say is an issue because from what I've seen, those investments haven't been returning to date in the way they need to. We have, I think, over 600 million out altogether, including that ARPA, that is currently in their budget. But a lot of that, again, is going to things like policing, is going to things like demolition, is going to things like renovating their floors at the city commissioner's building at the city hall. They're going to those things. I haven't seen anything so far in recreational. I haven't seen anything as far as medical. I haven't seen anything that would actually like clean up the streets. You know what I'm saying?
We have we have the worst roads in the history
like
of the world.
They literally repaved Salem and some of the streets connecting to Salem and left little divots in between the reconnections. Like, if this was being properly managed, why wouldn't y'all pave the full way? Why would you leave just a sliver for people to then have more car issues? So we have her, and then under her is the vote. And that's where you have your mayor and other commissioners. And unfortunately, it's been a 3-2 vote on her side. And I would say that the 3 that continuously vote for her and don't actually read what she's passing down, because I've had people tell me that they've called their city commissioner and asked them about a point that they're coming to vote on, and they couldn't even say what it was. They hadn't read the paper themselves. They don't even know what they're voting on to say yes to. So those 3 individuals, I would say, are currently in an opportunity to change the narrative and have yet to do so.
That's a wonderful way of saying that they the problem. That's a wonderful way of saying it.
Who are those individuals?
Well, he said he want to put a name on it.
I mean, because we vote for these people, right?
Yeah.
The 3 people I've seen that just go along to get along are your mayor, Jeffrey Mims, your commissioner, Matt Joseph, and your other commissioner, Christopher Shaw.
In there,
How does the city manager get selected?
She was hired back in 2015.
appointed or hired?
She was appointed. No, well, appointed is when someone selects you to. I believe she was appointed.
Who selects them?
So at that time, the mayor and commissioners have the mayor and the commissioners are the ones who can hire and fire her.
But they work for her?
They, in the essence, the way our charter is set up, work for her, yes.
They work for her, yet
Because
they fire her.
They can fire her, correct. It's a very weird way that our city commissioners, our charter is
It's
set
like
up.
a checks and balance
So
type
she
thing.
is the CEO. She is the CEO. It literally says that in our charter. She's the chief executive officer.
Right.
And so everything under her, they're the board that then votes on the things that she decides.
So
she decides.
If you want some type of policy passed, or you want to get something funded or something like that
As
by
an
the city,
individual?
or as a business, as an entity, whatever.
If you
Who
want
do
an
you-
ordinance passed, you need 1,250 votes, and then you need to take that ordinance over to the city commissioners, who will then vote on it.
So what does the city manager, how does she bring these things about that she's getting the mayor and the commissioners to sign?
What do you mean?
So, like, what is she handing down to the commissioners and
She's
the mayor?
handing down contracts in most cases. It's contracts for the bids for the people who are going to do the things that she said need to get done.
And where do these bids come from? They get submitted to her from somebody?
Yeah,
From a
City
business?
Boss, I think, is one of the ways that you can submit a bid.
Boss.
I don't know how other ways
They got a
she's
vendor.
taking bids.
They got a vendor registry as well.
I know
City
that
Box.
they do have ones that they, kind of work with and have worked with. I don't know if they have a different bidding process.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I've heard some things, but again, nothing that I can personally substantiate to say right here in this moment. But they're basically, she decides.
And what position are you running for?
I'm running for a commissioner seat.
And how many commissioners are there?
4.
There's 4 commissioners.
Yes, and so right now, Matt Joseph and Christopher Shaw are the 2 commissioners, are the 2 incumbents that are up for re-election. In May, on May the 2nd, you will have pretty much like 8 or 9 people to choose from. And then 4 of those people would go on to the general election. The general election is in November. And then the 2 that are chosen from that will become your 2 new commissioners.
Okay. And do commissioners, are they like a part of a particular party, or are they just?
No, this is nonpartisan. It's a nonpartisan election because it is local. You shouldn't have a Democrat or a Republican, because again, local government shouldn't be based on that. It should be based on what the people need.
Mm.
The city, in the charter, the inhabitants of the city own the city. We own the city. And the commissioners and mayor are just our voting board underneath the manager who decides where this money is going.
That kind of makes sense.
So it just becomes a popularity contest.
In most cases, unfortunately, it does. It's name recognition a lot of times. You see that person's name, you're like, oh.
Peanut.
Unfortunately, it's also sometimes based on race and sometimes based on sex. Instead of actually listening to that person, you're like, oh, they're black, I'm voting for them. Oh, they're a black woman, I'm voting for them. Instead of actually listening to whether or not they're going to listen to you. A lot of people run for themselves because they want to be called a commissioner. Whereas you need to run because you actually want to be in that position to make substantial changes for the people who live in that city, which should include yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of those commissioners, I don't think, actually live in the city of Dayton.
I was gonna ask that about the manager. Is he or she an outsider?
I don't know where Shelley Dickstein lives.
Okay. I mean, is she from this area?
I can't even speak to that. I didn't look up her background. I just know that she's been in since 2015 when Nan Whaley was still governor.
It seemed like that.
Or mayor. Sorry, mayor.
It seemed like that would be a problem automatically if you from
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Texas and you come in to run.
I believe she's still within the area, but I can't say if she's actually in Dayton proper.
So I found some.
Or if she is, she has a house here and a house somewhere else kind of thing.
I
You know
found
what
some
I'm saying?
article about them being investigated. You know anything about that?
The FBI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you inform?
Speak to that?
Yeah.
So the FBI came down. They labeled this a city of corruption. At the time, Nan Wiley was the mayor, and Joey Williams. And there was another gentleman, I think.
He was the fall guy, in my opinion. I don't think
He definitely was. I
I stand with him.
From what I can understand,
I stand with Joey. I ain't a politician. I can say that.
they definitely had their fall guys, and they allowed it to be what it is. But the corruption is still there, and it wasn't just a commissioner who's committing this corruption. It can't just be one singular person being able to get away with all of the things that they said. They would have had to have help in higher places.
Wow. Well, I think we definitely gonna help you get on that ballot.
I appreciate it. I brought it here for you guys to sign.
Whoa,
If you see me out in the streets, you can always approach me. I will have this on me. You can sign my petition.
Keep it on like
I
ID.
need to get 500 signatures by March the 3rd. So I am taking, as long as you're a Dayton registered voter. If you're not a registered voter, I usually also keep voter registration as well as absentee ballots on me, and I will go through how to fill out any of
500
those.
signatures get you on the ballot
500 signatures.
by March the 3rd. So we
Yes.
got about 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How close are we?
I'm a little more than halfway there.
There we
Alright.
go.
Yeah, we need to do an event. You going to Network and Chill tonight?
Absolutely.
Everybody on there?
Yep.
Yeah, we need to get you on there.
I appreciate that.
What's the relationship between the mayor, the city manager, and the commissioners? Is it all friendly, or do they disagree?
It depends on which commissioner you ask.
do
because
they openly disagree and sometimes
Yes.
just completely don't like each other because of their different stances
From
on
what I
different
can
issues?
tell, there is some definite shade thrown up on that commissioner up when they're actually having their meetings, especially to Fairchild and Turner Schloss, because they will speak their mind and they will say, I don't agree with it. And because, again, it's a go along to get along type of situation right now, any type of discourse is met with, why aren't you just saying yes? And I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, because like, didn't they have like a
Especially
lock
after
like
the
a lockup
auditor
thing?
situation.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are trying to bring in an auditor to audit the city, and yet they're going to try to put them under the city manager to audit the city manager. I'm gonna let y'all replay that one. You gonna put the person who is auditing under the person that they're auditing.
Yeah, that
Oh,
don't
the
make
city-
sense.
So
Yeah.
somebody from the city manager's team is going to perform
No,
the
they're
audit.
going to hire somebody outside, but that person is then going to be working underneath the city manager. So anytime they do anything, they report back to the city manager on their findings instead of it being an absolute third-party auditing team that then does their full audit without having to then come back and tell on what they audited. At least not directly
Basically,
to the
like they
person
get a
that
chance
they're
to clean
auditing.
up the information before it comes out public.
Right. That's what it appears to be.
But who does the city manager answer to?
No one technically.
God.
I mean, she can be fired, like I said, by the mayor and by the commissioners if they decided to take the action. But as far as actually reporting to anyone, no.
What
She gives her
has to-
recommendations.
she has to, in some way, shape, or form.
She makes her own. She tells them what she's about to get paid. She tells them what they about to get paid. Do you understand how much
Yeah.
control she has?
Yeah, I see that. But then at the same time, though, it's a delicate balance as
It's
well,
supposed to
because
be.
they could, I mean, well, anytime they feel like gaining control and making her capitulate to some extent by just the threat of losing her job, they do have that power.
They're not going to, though, because in most cases, from what I've seen, they don't. I mean, it could be a number of reasons, but they're not going to. I can just tell you they're not going to. Not with the way that it's currently set up. As long as they have that 3-2, it would have to be the other way. You would have to get in the third vote to actually be willing to fire
So
her.
all the commissioners vote in on who is appointed.
Each
So,
person gets one vote.
right.
Each person gets one vote.
Because she was voted in by the commission, which is all of them, on February 3rd, 2016, as city manager. She has overseen a city budget over $600 million and a workforce of over 2,000 employees.
So she's at the head, truly. And unless you're about to get the 3 to turn coat, and I really doubt it, she's going to continue to be at the head.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know how it was all structured and set up.
Me neither. I know that till today.
And just, from our standpoint as a show, like we had Jeff Mims on, and when Mims came through, he seemed like a respectable guy to me.
He's very respectable.
I do see the mayor out. It seems like he's always in the community.
Absolutely.
I see him at different events.
He did that whole neighborhood tour where he went from place to place, getting the actual feedback from the people.
And he did. I talked to the mayor about just having some type of community conversation, and he seemed like that he was more than willing to do something like that.
He's done that to our team as well, but he never follows through. And so
It takes time. So.
it can take time, but it also takes someone actually being willing to do that and not just being a figurehead.
Yeah.
And for me, it feels like at this point, he is just a figurehead because again, with the way that it's set up, he's not made or have to do any more than what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to make sure that you guys are actually heard. He doesn't have to enforce those things because at the end of the day, he could say, oh, well, the city manager didn't put it in, so I couldn't vote on it. He gets to take away that accountability off of himself to say, well, I just vote on what passes through my table instead of actively working to make sure that the policies and things that are thrown up to her are then put in and passed that way.
Can he though? And
He can. Yeah,
He can? Okay.
They can actively
can.
do that, but a lot of times because this is a part-time position, they, people are going to treat it like it's a part-time job instead of it being.
The mayor is a part-time job in Dayton, huh?
The commissioners are part-time. Is the mayor part-time?
Mm-mm.
The mayor is full-time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, like, what can we do as a people to force an issue to kind of,
You can show up at their city commissioner meetings to one.
is the
You
city
can
manager there at the
Yeah,
commission meeting?
Most of the time. Some of the time she does not show. But they each have an option to not show up. I think they get money off if they don't. Or at least the commissioners get money off if they don't show up to certain meetings, from what I read in the charter. But sometimes she's not there. Sometimes her second in command is there. Sometimes no one is there to fill the city manager position. And it is the court person who then just kind of runs and says, okay, we're going to vote on these things on behalf of the city manager. But again, at the end of the day, the way that it's laid out is that their policies go up to her. She takes in that information with her team. She decides which policies that they're actually going to fulfill. And then she decides on who's going to get those bids, and then they vote. And at that point, what they've actually seen is just what she's put down to say, vote on this. And only if they've read it. A lot of times they don't read it.
So we're gonna give you 90 seconds in this camera to tell someone who's on the fence about voting for you why they should vote for you, or why should they sign your petition for you to be added.
I truly think that you should vote for me because I care. Like I really care, and I want to see this be a different type of Dayton. I know what's possible. I've seen Philadelphia become a human rights city to where people are now able to thrive because they're not struggling just to survive. And with $600 million, there's a lot that we can do here that can set up the people of Dayton so that they have the resources, they have the knowledge, they have the things that they need in order to be successful in this world, period. And we're not getting that currently. And if it keeps going the way that it's going, from what I can see, it's going to be a very policed state, and we're not going to have many rights. So let's get out there and vote and be impactful and use your voice, because truly the other inalienable right that you have is your right to vote, and you need to use it.
Wow. So please drop your social medias and how they can get in contact with you and how they can help you in your movement.
It is the People for Commissioner Joe Cooley-Love on both Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there. I am also starting a YouTube, but that is not up, but it will be under the same monogram, the People for Commissioner Joe Cooley-Love.
Thank you so much. Ahava, man, you pay some bills?
Hey, get that stolen book of Ahava Elyon.
Yes,
Come
sir.
to the book signing April 16th at the convention center. We still got time slots to be determined and details about the overall event, but we're definitely going to do a podcast live in front of 500 people. It's going to be
lit, man.
super lit. Business owners, if you're interested in helping to sponsor the event, just call me 937-603-4494, and whoever answers the phone, tell them that you want to help sponsor the event. It's going to be major. We're going to have t-shirts and Kiara wine and some good old dinner and some books and some t-shirts. And, me, P, and my bro Beanut, my brother Hood, and my brother Chimo.
That's going to be love.
Man, we're going to do something that I haven't seen anybody else do before, man. And
yeah,
you'll get a chance to see how we operate, our real authentic self, not trying to be overly formal about anything. We just going to be extremely lit. And
I bet $100 me and you argue at least once.
Yeah, because you probably going to say some ridiculous stuff. But just, it's more than just a podcast. It's really a lecture series that I'm doing that tells you how to deal with stress, or either how I've dealt with stress, and then it might be something that you can take for yourself and then put it in your bag. And we're going to just talk about perspective. So I did want to make it more than just a book signing, but something that could be useful for everybody who comes, that would be worth the price of admission. And stress is out here, for everybody, man. Everybody, for somebody you see with a Mercedes-Benz or even a store, you see it as some great asset and some form of wealth. But to the person holding that thing up, definitely is some type of struggle to keep it going. So we just gonna put perspective on a whole lot of things in this Godcast. So April 16th at the convention center, make sure that you guys are ready to come out and see what we're doing. Net Work and Chill tonight at
1100 West 3rd Street, which is West Social Tap and Table.
6 to 8.
6 to 8. You feel me? 6 to 8 to be great. Come to West Social Tap and Table if you able. You know what I'm saying? We're going to keep it live like it's on cable. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. All right. T-shirt Kings, go for your mouth. Camera King Studio.
What's up?
What's the CMOS company, bro?
Amani Botanicals.
Amani for Botanicals? Yes, sir,
Amani
man. Superfood, man. Real superfood going on. So, you guys, we got a lot of good stuff going. So, make sure that you guys stay locked in. I want to get the petition. Can you give me a copy of the petition so we can put it up here? And then, man, if you can't catch up with Joe, come up to T-Shirt Kings.
I'll leave mine up here. They can come get that here.
Come up to T-Shirt Kings, and then, man, sign the petition, because we want this thing to be competitive. And we want this thing to give somebody that they're saying that they care an opportunity to show it. I mean, we have to do that, man, and you was real enough to come to our podcast.
Absolutely.
So I want to be real enough to just, help you get in that race and fight for what you believe in.
Thank you.
Yep.
I also want to give a big shout out to Ron McLean.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan McLean is 10 toes down.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
Yep. All right, man. We love everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. We got my daughter. She started her own clothing line.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not me. It's you. I'm sorry. I'm not
Yeah.
sorry. You
Yeah,
feel me? I'm rocking
man.
that tomorrow.
We're going to talk about how she's doing with her clothing line. She's a sweet young lady, man. She's going to pull up on us tomorrow at 12 o'clock, man, on the Legendary People podcast,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. What you say, P?
Legendary People Podcast. Legendary People, Legendary Stories. Be a capitalist,